Hello and welcome. My name is William J. Rogers, founder of Love Anarchy and the LovAnaverse music universe. And today we're breaking down the debut single from Urania Fantasia, the Arcane Muse. Let's get into it. So Urania Fantasia is a collaboration project with Pete Rawcliffe, who's a counter-tenor vocalist from the UK, exceptionally talented, and it's been an absolute pleasure to work with him on this track. So Pete and I had been talking for quite a while. We'd been sort of following each other and supporting one another for a good amount of time before we eventually sat down to work on this project. Now, we went back and forth for a little while, discussing a concept and an idea for a character. And then once we kind of had the general idea of what we were going for, I sat down to compose a piece. The process went something like this. I had to first create the music. I composed primarily on the piano and then orchestrated it and added the band. I essentially produced a demo, or really just a rough mix of the instrumental, and then I sent it to Pete. Pete then wrote the lyrics and the melody. He recorded his vocals and sent them back to me to do the final mix and master. So that means that it was on me to get the project started. I sat at the keyboard and played around for a little while, trying to kind of find a sonic landscape that would suit this concept of a character we had created. And after playing around for a while, I found this home in the Dorian scale. Now, the Dorian scale is the second mode of the major scale, for those who don't know. And if you think of the major scale as all the white notes from C to C, then the Dorian mode is all the white notes from D to D. And that has a much more sort of mysterious quality to it. It's kind of like a mix between the minor and the major scale, in that it's essentially a minor scale with that raised six. And so it has this kind of inherent sort of duality in it that I find particularly kind of compelling for this. And you know, this harmonic movement here is what really kind of establishes the Dorian mode. So from here in this key, it's D minor to G major. Now, this perhaps is a familiar sound to you. There's a couple kind of references of where it's used. One in particular would be this one. So you have that kind of the drama of the minor sound, but then with this sort of hopeful lift of the major six. And I found that particularly kind of compelling for this character of Urania, or the Arcane Muse. So once I'd found this home in the Dorian mode, I started playing around with some themes. The first one being this. And so it's all really kind of built upon this harmonic shift of the D minor to the G major. We then have this modulation section that comes from the B flat here. A chromatic movement to the G minor, A augmented to A major, that sets us up for the modulation. And so we have this run of the whole A major scale that takes place. So up to the D major, D7, G major, G minor, D minor, C major, B flat, C major, and then we have this kind of signature chord or arpeggio that takes place, which is the D minor 6, again establishing that Dorian sound. It goes something like this. And we hear those runs throughout the song a few times, offering us a kind of peculiar sound, which is, a sort of signature theme for this character. That takes us up into the next theme, which is another Dorian theme that goes like this. There's also another variation on this theme in the middle of the song that goes something like this. And that's kind of dueling with the guitars, which are also sort of tapping that theme. There's plenty of other things that happen throughout the song as well, but we'll get into that more as we break down the arrangement later in the video. For now, let's go to Pete, who's going to talk to us about the lyrics and his contribution to the song.
So William and I have been talking for quite some time about working on this project together, and we discussed the incredible characterization that hopefully at this point you've already seen. And we knew that we had to get something equally as magical to match musically, vocally, lyrically, melodically, all of those things. We knew we had to encompass that character through music. And I remember us talking about this, and we ran through a few different ideas and options, discussed how we were going to get there. So I had initially a vision in my mind of what the sound of the song was going to be like, but it wasn't until I was in Greece. I was sat by a beach, beer in hand, sun was shining, and I pressed play. The whole track just blew me away. It really blew me away. The musicality of the track is just incredible. The way that it sweeps and the journey that it takes you on, it just transported me in such a way that I knew that I had to work my ass off to get the lyrics and the melody just as powerful. So I listened to it over and over and over again, as I always do when I write any song. And I really kind of allow the vocal melody to come to me first. We'd had some discussions, William and I, about range, and he was like, I want you to use the full breadth of your range in this, and yeah, I think he probably achieved that. There's parts where I drop down into my chest voice, there's parts where I go up to pretty high note within my range, there is different switches in tonality, in style, and all of them encompass the idea of the character that we've created. All of them encompass exactly what this person reflects, what this being reflects. I'm not sure of watching this video at this point you've seen the characterization, so I'm trying not to give too many spoilers away just in case it comes out first. But all I will say is it does the job. It really, really does the job. So melodically, I had to work out what sort of story I was going to tell before I even fit the lyrics down. So listening to the song over and over again, understanding that it starts off pretty slow, goes fairly big, a bit angry, into a more melodic passage that I think was made to show off. Well, I'm going to go with that anyway. And then back into the chorus again. So I thought, right, let's go back to basics. This muse, the Arcane Muse, has been asleep for a long time, been away from the universe for a long time. This is the reawakening of these tales, of these stories, of all the things that we have yet to present. This is the first starting point. So let's start with a wake up. Let's start with a wake up call. So slowly, the melody comes around very light and airy, almost like we're awaking from a deep slumber, into that aggressive bewilderment of like, yes, I'm here. And then of course it's settled into the chorus, something that's catchy, it's quite hooky, I like that. And then we got into the show off bit, which for me was the muse singing out to the people, captivating them again with the voice of the air, the leaves, the wind, everything, every sound that you hear is based around this person. And I think that is what I really wanted to get across with conviction, that actually I'm going to create that sound. I'm going to make it believable that my voice can transfer to those things. I'm sure you'll let me know if I've done that. The lyrics came pretty organically, I'm not going to lie. I didn't have to really think much about them. And that's not to say that they are overly simplistic, although there is a lot of repetitive themes in the chorus, and then there's a big vocalization part in there which doesn't need any lyrics. there is an element of storytelling in them, and that's why we've created a lyric video to go with this one. Because it's important to see, especially at the start of the song, the introduction to the character. And I think that those few passages, the verse at the beginning, into the pre-chorus and then into the bridge, they actually really highlight the story that we're trying to tell. And then the chorus is obviously, that is the introduction. So for me, that came pretty organically. It wasn't something that I had to think about much. But overall, I'm super, super happy with the way the song turned out. I'm super happy that we have started this project off with a bang, and there is only more to come. There is only more to come from this character, and I cannot wait to do the next one of these to tell you exactly what we've got coming up in store very, very soon.
Okay, so we're inside the door session of the Arcane Muse. Going to take a little look at the production here. So to start things off, let's go with the piano. Okay, so it sounds something like that overall. The piano is actually made up of 2 layers. So the first one is a bit more of a traditional piano sound, like this. And then the second one it's a bit more of a kind of magic-y sort of reverby bell sound. And so together they kind of create that layer, which is our main piano sound that goes throughout pretty much the whole song. So next we have the orchestra. And you can see in this project I've bounced a lot of the tracks down into stems just because there was a great deal of tracks for this song. But I've kept some here just to kind of demonstrate how I've done the orchestra. And you can see what I've done is I have buses for the different sections, so strings, brass, woodwinds. And so each of them, I've composed the individual parts for the instruments. So strings has violins, violas, cellos, contrabass, and they all go into the strings bus. Something like that. And the strings bus goes to the orchestra where all the rest of the sections are going. So you can see here we have a similar thing going with, let's see, the brass. And the brass we have horns, trumpets, and trombones. And you might notice that I don't have tubas here just because there's so much kind of low end on a tuba that it won't really cut through a mix with the drums and the bass and everything. It's really just going to kind of weigh it down. So I tend to use trombones for the bass in a brass section. Similar thing going on with the woodwinds. And the woodwinds play, I would say, quite a crucial part in this overall arrangement. You can hear the harmonies going on between those, and I think the way that I've got it done is I've got the oboes and the clarinets are kind of panned to either side, and they often perform these different kind of harmonies which just kind of enriches the overall orchestration. As well as those things, not too much percussion going on for the same kind of reason, like we have a drum kit and everything there. But we do have a gong, just for some kind of impact in certain places. Oosh. And the chimes as well, which you hear in a couple of moments. But yeah, overall, that's the orchestration. Let's see, there's also some bird song here just to create some atmosphere in the intro. And you might notice here there's this track called Gong Transitions. And what this is like, it's reverse cymbals, essentially. Typical kind of production technique. And there was actually a gong sound that's been reversed as well as a crash cymbal. And I'm actually often using these quite subtly just to kind of shift the dynamic between sections. But every now and again, I'll kind of really ramp it up just for some impact. And then there's different kind of varying effects there. You hear the kind of phaser going, and just to add some kind of interesting movement to the production. So that is the piano and the orchestra, and that's really kind of where the song came from. We wanted it to be quite kind of orchestral, just because it has that kind of symphonic metal sound, and also needs to be kind of larger than life, epic, and kind of magical to capture the spirit of the character. But of course, naturally, it wouldn't be what it is without the band instruments. And so we have here the drums, and here's our drum sound. But you'll hear that actually a lot of it is coming from the parallel compression here. Gone for quite heavy parallel compression on these drums, just because, again, with all this orchestration and everything, we want to make sure it's still punchy. Still want that kind of driving metal sound. And so, yeah, nice heavy parallel compression on the drums. And our bass here, nice and kind of gritty, heavy kind of low bass. And the bass is also made up of 2 layers. This is a trick that I'll often do, where we've got this one, which is the recorded amp sound. That's kind of covering all the low end. But then we have this one, which is, it has all the low end scooped out of it, and really that kind of provides us with our clarity in the bass. And that just allows me to adjust it so I can kind of control how much low end we want there, but also still kind of control that the bass is kind of audible. And together they make this sound. So then we add in the rhythm guitars. And so hard panned stereo guitars, we have one all the way to the left and one all the way to the right. And I think the thing is with this kind of sound, where we have these quite low tuned guitars, it's a 7-string guitar and a 5-string bass. And they're all tuned down a whole step, so kind of like A standard. And when you're working with a guitar sound that's kind of that low, it's important to get the guitar and the bass to really kind of gel together almost as one. And so when you hear the guitar by itself, a lot of the low end is actually taken out of it, just so we can kind of keep the clarity in the guitars. And then that's really filled out by the bass. So as well as that, we have some lead guitar parts here. Now, I didn't want to get too kind of chauvinistic with the guitar in this song, just because I really wanted the focus to be on the vocals. Pete has obviously quite a unique voice, and we'll get into that in a moment. But there are some interesting guitar moments here. We have this tapping section here, playing one of the themes that I mentioned. And there's a harmony part that comes in as well. Oh, I should also mention that we have the choir as well, of course, as part of the kind of orchestra. It's very kind of airy, pushes that air, so it really just kind of cuts through without weighing down the mix too much. Yeah, with guitars you hear an octave one has come here just to kind of build up the arrangement. And then lead guitar here playing that first theme. Just obviously a really epic moment in the song, so just really emphasizing that. Then it also kind of goes into this tapping section where it's really building up. Stereo, so left and right, whilst everything's kind of going crazy. This mad tempo shift here from 90 BPM to 150 BPM with the blast beat, you know, absolutely insane kind of drums. And then, yeah, there's also these acoustic guitars that kind of play a subtle part. They're just playing this theme along with the piano. And again, they're hard pan left and right, so let's hear that with the piano. Just kind of adds more kind of texture to this section. And then, yeah, in this first or second verse, it has these strums just to kind of add that little bit of texture. Very subtle part. You mostly kind of hear it in the fade out here at the end. When everything kind of drops out, you hear those acoustic guitars a little bit more. But I think that more or less does us for the instrumental. So other than the fact that, yeah, everything kind of goes to this master reverb, and obviously this, again, it's a big part of this track, how kind of dreamy and ethereal it is. So it makes sense that there's this really kind of big spread reverb that carries everything along. But of course, the main feature, without doubt, in this track is the vocals, and let's just have a listen to this. Wow. Yeah. What more to say about Pete's vocals? I mean, I get chills just listening to that now. I mean, if I'm completely honest, the setup with the vocals is very simple. I mean, Pete gave me such an incredible performance that I really kind of just didn't want to meddle with it too much. There was pretty much no editing, certainly no pitching or, you know, tuning, anything along those lines. He gave me the tracks and they sat in beautifully, and I really didn't do much with them. As you can hear, there's you know, a kind of lush reverb there just to help really kind of carry them, and you can see here how there's a delay as well, just to subtly kind of add some texture to it. But yeah, I mean, Pete's vocals really speak for themselves, and I just really wanted to kind of stay true to that. Pete Rawcliffe, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so I think that about wraps it up. Thank you for watching this breakdown video of The Arcane Muse by Urania Fantasia. I really hope you enjoyed learning more about the song. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and let us know what you think in the comments below. I'll see you next time.